Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari A to Z Flashback, a series of short playthroughs of the 150 games that make up Atari Flashback Classics on Nintendo Switch. Today's game is Missile Command. This is a game from 1980 that was developed by Dave Toyer. He put together quite a few cool games for Atari over the period, including Tempest. It was inspired by the ever-present threat of nuclear war at the time. And in fact, during development, Toyer actually suffered recurring nightmares of a series of Californian cities, specifically Eureka, San Francisco, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, and San Diego being devastated by nuclear blasts. The reason for this is that the original concept for the game was that it was these cities being attacked by intercontinental ballistic missiles. The backstory for the game was later changed, mostly for the home ports, I think, into a more sci-fi tale about the planet of Zardon that was under attack from alien missiles and their invading forces. And in fact, Kid Stuff Records put out a rather amusing LP with lots of singing and that sort of thing. So do try and look that up if you get the chance, because it's a great listen. So Missile Command is one of the all-time classics of Atari's back catalogue, and I'm terrible at it. So let's go and play it, and you'll see just how terrible.
Okay, here we are with Missile Command. This is a game I'm absolutely terrible at, but well, I'll do my best to demonstrate what is going on with this. So let's begin. Start one player, and off we go. So, the principle of Missile Command is that you need to defend your cities from these incoming ballistic missiles. And you do that by firing missiles back at them. However, this isn't your sort of average conventional shoot 'em up. What you have to do in this is you have to catch the heads of the missiles in the tails that are coming towards you. So rather than aiming directly for them, you have to kind of aim ahead of them and make sure you try and catch them in those explosions. Oh, we've lost a city there. And you see you only have a very limited amount of missiles to fire as well. So in the arcade, this game used a trackball to control it, which allowed you to sort of really quickly zip that cursor around the screen and get to where you're going. In this Nintendo Switch adaptation, and the version that's also on PlayStation and Xbox, you use the analog stick, which is pretty twitchy, to be honest. But you can also use the D-pad if you want to move at a constant speed. That's slightly slow, but it's still quite twitchy. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It takes quite a delicate touch, but if you played any of the other sort of paddle-based or trackball-based games on this compilation, then you'll already be very accustomed to that already. One thing I will note is that the default layout for the buttons in this is a little bit strange. So it doesn't entirely make sense with the layout of the missile bases, because what you had on the original arcade machines, you had 3 buttons, one for each of the missile bases, and they were laid out left to right, which made a lot of sense, obviously, because you knew which button you were pressing in this one. So in this one, though, you're using the B, the A, and the X buttons on the Switch controller, and they don't really seem to match up very well. So I'm just going to see if I can remap those, which I'm pretty sure you can. So controls. So alpha fire we will set to... Oh, whoops. Alpha fire will set to Y, which is the leftmost of the buttons. Delta fire will set to B, and then omega fire will set to A. Also turn the sensitivity down a little bit as well. Let's turn it down to 2 and see if that helps. Alright, let's try that again. That doesn't really feel any different. Oh, but those button assignments are way better now. Because it's obviously best to try and fire a missile from the base that is closest to where you're trying to hit, because that means it will get to its destination the quickest. And also on the more frantic stages where you start running a bit low on missiles, you need to sort of manage your ammo quite carefully, so you need to bear that in mind. The other cool thing that this game has is chain reactions, so you'll notice that each of the missiles explode when you destroy them. And that means that if you time your shots carefully, you can take out a whole bunch in one go, which is always incredibly satisfying to do. Oh! See, that's the twitchy controls there. That was sort of a slight thumb spasm there, completely threw my aim off. And those things that come flying past at the top, the satellites and the aeroplanes and such like, they're not just for bonus points. Some of them will actually fire big clusters of missiles at you, so in a lot of cases you want to take them out as soon as they appear to make your life a little bit easier. Although, you could also allow them to actually get their shot off and get some more points from taking out all of their missiles in one go. And you'll see that the further we go, the more we start to get missiles that sort of split into pieces as well. There we go. And the further you go, the higher your score multiplier rises as well. So, you see we're currently on double points. But at the same time, as the multiplier rises, so too does the game speed as well. And it gets pretty quick. Pretty soon. Not an easy game. But again, this is an example of... Whoops. This is an example of one of those early games where it's... a lot of the satisfaction is drawn from something very, very simple indeed. So just a change in colour palette makes you feel like you've been making progress. Oh god, what's that? Oh, I forgot about them. They dodge. And that's the end for us. So yeah, when all your cities are destroyed, you get until the end of that round to continue playing. And then it's the end! And epilepsy. So, obviously, this is one of many games from the period that kind of... Actually, before I do that, I'm going to turn the sensitivity down even further. Yeah, this is one of many games from the period where it's sort of channeling Cold War paranoia again. Oh, that's much better. Well, not much better, but a bit better. Yeah, so there was sort of lots of paranoia over intercontinental ballistic missile strikes. And obviously this was a game made to kind of explore that fear and give people the opportunity to feel like they were sort of fighting back against this great threat that was sort of looming over everyone's head at the time. Now, interestingly, like quite a few Atari games, the kind of narrative setup for this has changed a few times over the years. And one of the more sort of established widespread setups for this was that it was a science fiction story. And in fact, they went so far as to produce a record. It was sort of a kind of a low-budget War of the Worlds type thing, where it was sort of like a radio drama. So there was acting, there was singing, there were musical numbers, and it was pretty awful, to be honest. But if you do get the chance to have a listen to it, it's well worth having a listen to, just for pure 80s cheese value. It's quite incredible, quite incredible. But if I remember correctly, that particular narrative setup wasn't part of this original arcade game. That was added in some of the later home ports, particularly the Atari ST port, I think, made use of it, which we've previously seen on the Atari ST A to Z series. So do check that out. That's an interesting port, actually. It doesn't make the best possible use of the ST's capabilities by any means, but it's quite a fun game, regardless. And obviously, mouse control is an ideal fit for this kind of game. Much more than a frigging joypad, definitely. Oh no! It's all over. Got a high score though. Nice. Yay, we get to enter our initials. What are my initials? P, that's it. J. D. Ah, an achievement as well. Alright, let's have one more go at this. I feel like I'm getting slightly better. Only slightly, but slightly regardless. The other thing you might notice, which to be honest, I've only just noticed, is the fact that the middle missile base fires much faster missiles than the other two. I'd never noticed that before, but that is indeed something that is happening. So, reasonably speaking, what you probably want to try and do is save those central missiles for absolute emergencies, and at other times just use the ones that are close to your targets. So like the central base would be good for getting rid of satellites and aeroplanes and those horrible dodging homing bomb things that we see in the later ×3 stages. But in the meantime, if you can take stuff out with the slower missiles, then so much the better. Oh dear. No! And you'll see when all your missile silos are taken out, the rest of the level accelerates, so you don't have to sit around waiting for it. Not that there's a lot of sitting around waiting anyway on these high levels, because as you can see, it gets really fast really quickly. Yeah, it doesn't look like a frantic game, but it is an incredibly frantic game. It's one of those things that you only really kind of get that feeling once you actually play it for yourself, and you feel, oh my god, yes, this is terrifying. There we go. Nicely done. Oh, I cannot get those things. It's impossible. Literally impossible. Not literally impossible, but obviously I need a better strategy than what I've got there. But we've got another high score, so that's okay. Alright, I think that's probably enough Missile Command for today. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue a small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.